Hello, and welcome back to our channel. Before we dive into yet another fascinating and mysterious stories, I would like to invite you to watch, to like, and subscribe to the channel. Also activate the notification sound, beloved chosen one. From a perspective beyond your time, beyond your world, we have watched across the centuries as humanity has sought to understand, to grasp the divine, the message of the one called Christ. Imagine it, the 2nd century, a time of flux, of searching Christianity spreading like a seed taking root. But not all the followers of Jesus agreed. Not everyone understood or interpreted his teachings. In the same way, differences emerged, paths diverged. One group, among them, treasured something special, something secret, they believed. It was a secret gospel, holding the true words, the authentic message of Christ himself. For centuries, this lost gospel remained hidden, buried deep in the sands of Egypt, guarded by time, hidden from the world, from human eyes. But in 1945, a discovery occurred. A moment in your history that shattered the silence, that brought light to what was hidden. The Gospel of Thomas, it surfaced. Unlike the familiar accounts in your New Testament, this ancient text made a profound claim. It claimed to reveal the true words, the pure sayings of Jesus. Words that challenge everything you thought you knew about him, about his message, about reality itself. That gospel is indeed the Gospel of Thomas. But why? We observed the human reaction. Why was it cast aside, dismissed? Why was it suppressed, actively kept from view? Who wanted it forgotten? And more importantly, what secrets, what profound truths does it hold? Secrets that were deemed too powerful or too challenging. That is what you are about to find out. We will guide you through it from our vantage point, and let us offer a glimpse, a spoiler alert, the revelation. The truth contained within Thomas. And the reasons for its hiding are indeed worrying. Deeply unsettling. For the established human narrative, the Gospel of Thomas, known also as the Coptic Gospel of Thomas, it is a unique text, a sayings gospel, different in form. It is not part of your canon, not included in what you call the Bible. Its discovery was significant in December 1945, near a place called Nag, Hammadi, in Egypt too. Egyptian farmers, they were looking, searching for something else. A type of crumbly nitrate rock, used as fertilizer. They were far up the Nile Valley. When they came across something unexpected, a big jar, earthenware, about a meter tall, hidden behind a boulder. Being curious, as humans are, they looked inside the jar and found a collection of ancient books, bound in leather. What you call codices. Not only that, but it turns out that a few miles from where these books were found was the site of an early abbey built by Pachomius himself, the very founder of Christian monasticism in that region of Egypt, a place of spiritual seeking. The collection of texts was later named after a nearby village, Nagumadi, the Nag Hammadi Library. It contained 52 books, or tractates, written in the Coptic language on papyrus, and put together in 13 volumes. Most of the books found there had some sort of Gnostic theme, themes of secret knowledge, of duality. But there was one exception, one book that stood apart, which was the Gospel of Thomas. We will explain what Gnosticism means later in this unfolding. But for now, we want to emphasize how strange, how fundamentally different the Gospel of Thomas is from almost every other book associated with Jesus. It is unique in the sense that it only recorded what Jesus said. That is it, pure sayings. There is no context given for the words, no background story leading up to them, no narrative of his birth, no detailed account of his crucifixion. Only the words, the direct sayings of Jesus were recorded. It has 114 sayings, each introduced simply with Jesus said. And what makes this gospel one of the most controversial books ever found. Ever considered. Is this. Unlike other ancient texts, like the Book of Enoch, or even the Ethiopian Bible texts we have revealed aspects of on this channel before. The content of the Gospel of Thomas is remarkably similar to the 4 canonical Gospels that are in your New Testament, Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. In such a way, about 80% of these sayings in the Gospel of Thomas are very similar to sayings found in the canonical Gospels. That is a lot. Significant amount of similarities. For instance, a saying from the Gospel of Thomas has a direct parallel is also found in the Bible. Same as this other one you might recognize. And a lot more saying after saying. Despite these extensive similarities, this overlap. The Gospel of Thomas is not included. It was left out, omitted from the canon, which makes it look from our perspective, observing history, like someone, or some group, certainly, didn't want it in the Bible, didn't want its message widely known, because here is the thing. The reason, usually given, when some books are not included in the Bible, such as the Book of Enoch, is that the similarity with other established works isn't there or it goes against everything already established, like someone saying, the earth is flat, despite overwhelming proof. So, works like that are not included in the canon, and some are even outright banned, suppressed entirely. Like for example, the Book of Enoch is the only book known that talked about fallen angels in detail, so most people at the time didn't see it as inspired, didn't believe it was divine revelation, and believed it could be fiction, mythology. So they didn't want to risk including a fiction into something they deemed factual, sacred. But that is not the case with the Gospel of Thomas, as we have shown. The similarity is immense, and yet it was sidelined, pushed to the periphery, excluded. Why? This is where the deeper secrets lie. Because here is another secret. Most people, even believers, don't know. Some scholars, and we mean intelligent, established scholars, who have been doing this work, analyzing ancient texts all their lives, believe that the Gospel of Thomas predates the 4 important Gospels in the New Testament, Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, especially the Gospel of Mark, which is generally considered to be the oldest, written first. So if Mark could be influenced by an earlier source, what's to say the rest aren't? The belief exists that the canonical Gospels were influenced by the Gospel of Thomas, or, if not directly by Thomas, that there was a central source, an earlier collection, known hypothetically as the Q source, that had the sayings of Jesus, purely the words, which all the later writers were able to use as a reference in their own version of the Gospel, including the author of the Gospel of Thomas. For some of you who don't know, or haven't considered this, it is believed, because of the striking similarities among the Gospels, that there was this hypothetical central source, known as the Q source, which was basically like someone taking notes in a meeting, writing down whatever Jesus said. So there is a theory, a strong possibility, that this source, known as Q source, was used by everyone in their own version of their story, like a shared reference document in such a way. The author of the Gospel of Luke acknowledged this. He said openly that many people had already written Gospels before he decided to also write his. He states, "Many people have tried to tell the story of what God has done among us." He is speaking of earlier accounts. They wrote what we had been told by the ones who were there in the beginning and saw what happened. These are the eyewitnesses, the early disciples. So I made a careful study of everything, diligent research, and then decided to write and tell you exactly what took place. Honorable Theophilus, addressed to a specific person. I have done this to let you know the truth about what you have heard. From that passage we can see clearly there were many versions out there, many accounts circulating that were potentially confusing. New believers creating differing understandings, which we will get to in a moment. So stick with us, this is crucial. But we brought this up because, despite these various accounts, potentially suspicious or even very obvious false accounts of Jesus circulating. As Luke suggests, the Gospel of Thomas, with its strong links to the sayings, was never included in the final compilation. Never endorsed by the emerging authority, and even the early church fathers, those who guided the early church, they studied it. They knew of it, as well as thought of it, as scriptures worthy of consideration. So much so, that some of them quote it directly. Saying 52 of the Gospel of Thomas is found in the writings of St. Augustine, an influential figure. Saying 113 turns up in the writings of St. Macarius of Syria, quoting Jesus from Thomas. As the Lord has said, "The kingdom of God is spread out on the earth, and people do not see it." A powerful saying, suggesting an inner reality. Macarius quoted other Thomas Jesus verses. As well. They knew it, they used it. Many people today think of the Gospel of Thomas simply as a Gnostic gospel, dismissing it quickly. But it is a lot more complex, more nuanced than you think. Because you see, the Gospel of Thomas actually lacks a lot of key Gnostic features. It does not contain the mention of an evil demiurge, a common Gnostic theme, a lesser god who created the flawed material world. There's no mention of complex eons or archons. Cosmic entities like what we see in the Gospel of Judas. Another text from Nag Hammadi. We just have a few sayings that sound esoteric, pointing to inner knowledge, mystical understanding, and the fact that the Gospel was found with other Gnostic Gospels in the Nag Hammadi library made it look like it was Gnostic itself. Guilty by association, so the book was judged based on its companions, not its content alone. To us, observing the true light, it passed the tests of similarity to the authentic sayings, the tests of wisdom. So the book, not being included, or at least mentioned, as a sort of further reading, a supplementary text, makes it sound like something was actively going on behind the scenes, a deliberate effort to hide this book, to suppress its message. Because the truth is that not everything was known or written down about Jesus or the Old Testament figures, even within the canonical texts. But here's the thing. There were books listed for you to read, further suggested readings, to either add to your knowledge or give you the complete picture of everything. The Bible itself references several books, both canonical and non-canonical, acknowledging their existence, their relevance, including the Book of Jasher, the Book of the Wars of the Lord, and even the Book of Nathan, the prophet. So even though they were not included in the Bible canon, their existence was never in doubt. They were known, and these books were allowed to be read, or studied, so that one could read them, to understand more about that time, or get the big picture, the wider context. But with the Gospel of Thomas, there's no such thing. No mention, no suggestion to read it. It was just outrightly rejected, silenced, and from the human perspective, there is a good reason for it. A worrying reason. Once again, unlike the Book of Enoch, where most people don't know that it wasn't written by Enoch himself, a point of contention that everyone knows or agrees that the Book of Thomas wasn't written by Jesus' disciple, whose name is also Thomas. The book's author is either someone named Didymus, Judas Thomas, which itself is intriguing, Didymus, meaning twin, or an unknown author. Either way, we all agree that the book was written sometime after, roughly 50 to 100 years after the death of the disciple, Thomas, and crazy enough, from our perspective, that dating, that time period is significant. It places Thomas, possibly, among the earliest written accounts of Jesus' sayings, overlapping with, or even preceding, some parts of the canonical Gospels. This is a worrying thought for those who built a structure on later narratives. The secrets it holds are not historical facts, but spiritual perspectives. The worrying revelation, is the nature of the teachings within. It focuses on is inner knowledge, finding the kingdom, not in a place or a future event, but within you. Jesus says in Thomas, "The kingdom is inside of you, and it is outside of you. When you come to know yourselves, then you will be known." and you will realize that you are the one children of the living Father. To this emphasis on self-knowledge as the path to divine knowledge was different from a message focusing on external salvation. Through ritual or belief in a specific historical event, it pointed to a direct connection, a divine spark within that you possess. A concept we have spoken of, it suggested that salvation was not something granted, but something realized through inner work, through understanding the self as a divine reflection. How could this message coexist with an emerging church structure that emphasized hierarchy, authority, a mediator between God and man? If the kingdom is within you, do you need a priest, a temple, a complex doctrine? This knowledge, this inner path, threatened the established order. It empowered the individual directly, without intermediaries, the sayings that sound esoteric. They point to this inner journey. 2. Seeking the light. Within 2. Becoming whole, Jesus says, if you bring forth what is within you, what you have will save you. If you do not have that within you, what you do not have within you will kill you. 3. This is a profound secret. A focus on the internal state as the key to salvation, not external actions alone. The early church leadership, what were they afraid of? They feared division. They feared teachings that could be misinterpreted, used to justify anything. But they also feared a loss of control. A message of individual spiritual authority was harder to manage than a message of collective obedience. The power of Thomas, the perspective it offered, was one of direct access of the divine spark already residing within you. The Gnostic connection, even if weak in the text itself, still pointed to the idea of a secret or higher knowledge for those who were ready. This contrasted sharply with the Great Commission in the canonical Gospels to go and teach all nations. A universal message, was Thomas meant only for a few? Or was its message of inner knowing the true universal path that was later obscured? The worrying part, chosen ones, is the possibility that you were meant all along to have this knowledge, this understanding of the divine within, but it was taken away, suppressed, hidden in the sand. To control the narrative, to guide humanity down a different path, one of external focus, we have offered divine guidance, an angelic perspective on this historical mystery. The divine wake-up call we speak of is also a call to seek truth, to look beyond the surface, to question the established, to find the knowledge that resonates with the spark within your own soul. The 99% who ignore the final call, they are also those who remain unaware of texts like Thomas, who settle for an incomplete picture of the divine message. This moment, watching this video, hearing these words, is your opportunity to be part of the 1%, the ones who seek, who question, who delve deeper into the mysteries to find the truth that sets you free. Not a truth imposed, but a truth discovered within. If this exploration of the Gospel of Thomas has stirred something within your spirit, if the mystery resonates, if the possibility of hidden truths calls to you, then you are already responding to the call. Take action now, seal this moment. Like this video to send a signal of your awakened curiosity. Subscribe to this channel to join a community of souls who seek, who question, who explore the divine mysteries, and share this video with others who might be ready to hear this truth. To confront this history, encourage them to drop 777 as a declaration that they are ready to seek, to question, to find the kingdom within. Answering the call is not always easy. It requires courage to look at challenging truths, to embrace knowledge that might reshape your understanding, but it is the path of the chosen few, the path to true awakening. The Gospel of Thomas is more than an ancient text. It is a key to a different perspective, a reminder of the divine potential within you. Do not let this opportunity slip away. Seek the knowledge, find the kingdom. It is within you, it is without you, it is everywhere, waiting to be seen by eyes that are open, by hearts that are ready. The journey continues, the mysteries unfold, and you, chosen one, are part of it. Seek the light within.